The Simpsons can predict the future. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. And to prove it, here are 10 times that The Simpsons guessed something that would happen and then it came true. Now, most of these predictions are going to be fun and silly, but this one is possibly the biggest bummer you can imagine. You guessed it, the COVID-19 pandemic. In 1993 Marge and Chain's episode, Homer orders a juicer off TV because, well, that's how we used to order things back in the day. Cut to a factory, a worker sneezes on the juicer, it's shipped to Springfield, and the whole town gets shut down with a virus that they call the Ahsoka flu. We all know how this one goes. 2020 comes and the COVID-19 virus shuts down the entire world with another flu that reportedly originated from Eastern Asia. This is a bummer. I hate that they got this right, so let's move on immediately. Donald Trump winning the presidency in 2016 shocked just about everyone except for The Simpsons because they predicted it would happen back in 2000. In an episode called Bart to the Future, Lisa Simpson wins the presidency, and she says that they inherited quite the budget crunch from former President Trump. Now, at the time, Trump was on TV saying that he might run for president as a fun little bit. He even said that Oprah would be his running mate, a nice little running joke for Trump at the time. 16 years later, and Trump wins the presidency, one of the biggest out of left field things that has ever happened in American politics, and The Simpsons called it. But it didn't stop there. The very next election, Joe Biden gets the White House. Kamala Harris is getting sworn in as vice president. And what is she wearing? A purple jumpsuit and pearls, the exact same outfit that Lisa Simpson is wearing in this episode. And you have to wonder, did she know? Did Harris know that she was wearing the exact same thing that Lisa was when they predicted that Trump would win the presidency? It's all connected. Wild prediction from The Simpsons. Next up, a random joke in the 90s turns into a viral moment in a very real concert in 2024. In a 1996 episode, Homerpalooza, rock and rap artists got together for a giant music festival, including Cypress Hill. They asked, did we order the London Symphony Orchestra while we were high? It's a fun little joke, but then it happens. Fast forward July 10th, 2024, Cypress Hill actually performed live with the London's Royal Albert Hall with the real London Symphony Orchestra. Fans online immediately called to the Simpsons joke, and Cypress Hill even admitted that the episode inspired what ended up becoming this concert. It's much more of a full circle moment than a prediction, but I promise things get a lot more weird from here. Environmentalists has always pointed to nuclear pollution as a threat to wildlife, but The Simpsons turned that into a gag way back in the 90s. Nuclear power and the Springfield nuclear power plant is really kind of its own character in The Simpsons. In an episode called 2 Cars in Every Garage and 3 Eyes on Every Fish, Bart catches a mutated three-eyed fish and names him Blinky outside of the Springfield nuclear power plant. It becomes a campaign issue for Mr. Burns in an iconic episode of The Simpsons. In June 2024, a fisherman in Greenland actually caught a three-eyed cod. The photo went viral and everybody immediately made the Blinky connections. While scientists suggested this was a rare mutation, the internet already had its verdict. The Simpsons did this. They predicted it. They manifested a three-eyed fish. Blinky is real, and there are more Blinkies out there, and they don't want us to know about them. These days, everybody has a smartwatch, everybody's FaceTiming, but back in the 90s, it was nothing more than science fiction. Literally, you can only see it in a Star Trek movie. In a 1995 episode called Lisa's Wedding, Lisa is talking to Marge through a video on her watch. And they called the Apple Watch, they called FaceTime, and throughout the rest of the episode, they showed more smart gadgets like virtual assistants and even some auto-correcting fails that everybody sees today. Come to the 2020s and all that tech is real. From Apple Watch to Alexa to Zoom calls to Simpsons, imagine the user experience years before Silicon Valley did. It's a lot of throw it at the wall and sees what sticks stuff, but that autocorrecting thing, that seems pretty specific and it's incredibly prominent right now. Now, I want to go back to that pandemic episode because they didn't stop there. We weren't done. That episode was a 2-for-2 prediction. 2020 is going to go down as one of the most disastrous years in human history. The COVID-19 pandemic, the Australian wildfires, Tiger King, and murder hornets. Murder hornets were a thing in 2020, and of course, The Simpsons called it. In a panic to find a cure for the Ahsoka flu, Springfield citizens blitz a truck outside Dr. Hibbert's clinic, hoping that there is some sort of antidote inside. Instead, they release a case marked Danger, Killer Bees. They attack the crowd, and they appropriately run in fear. In 2020, a giant species of hornets was originated in Asia and was seen in the US. Now, these hornets did not threaten humans immediately, but they did go after the bee life, and the internet gave them a name: murder hornets. The internet was in a weird spot in 2020, but I will say, murder hornets, pretty funny. In 2017, Lady Gaga headlined the Super Bowl halftime show and entered with an acrobatic performance that looked oddly familiar. In Lisa Goes Gaga in 2012, Lady Gaga suspends on top of a crowd wearing a glittery outfit and dramatic flair. It was fun little fan service to the Gaga monsters of the time and a real rock star element for one of the last remaining rock stars. Super Bowl 2017, Lady Gaga drops in from the ceiling, suspended by cables, wearing the glittery outfit, and the side-by-side footage made the rounds. Immediately, another prediction hits. Now, she didn't have fireworks coming out of her bra, but everything else was pretty one for one. Feels a little bit like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Lady Gaga knows they did the thing, and then she went and did the thing, which means Gaga watches The Simpsons, which is also pretty dope. Space tourism has gone from sci-fi to soft launch, and Sir Richard Branson led the charge. In a 2014 episode called The War of Art, Branson is shown floating around in a spaceship, clearly living a zero-gravity billionaire life. It was a visual joke about how rich guys doing rich guy stuff, and again, just a funny little joke and should be nothing more than a laugh. In July 11th, 2021, Branson flew on Virgin Galactic Unity's rocket and is shown doing exactly what he's doing in the episode. This was not a prediction. This was a screenshot waiting to happen. And sure, anyone could have predicted a rich guy was going to do a wacky guy thing and go into space, and it was going to be probably Richard Branson. But The Simpsons put it on film, and it actually happened. All right, let's get serious. Let's get scientific. In 2012, scientists at CERN discovered the Higgs boson, a fundamental particle that helps explain mass. It was a massive breakthrough for modern physics, real egghead above the shoulder smart guy stuff, but Homer Simpson had already put it on a chalkboard, so the idiots win again. In 1998's The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace episode, Homer stands in front of a chalkboard filled with equations. One of these equations, according to the particle physicists, very closely resembles what would go on to become the Higgs boson mass formula. 14 years later, the Higgs boson was discovered at the Large Hadron Collider. Scientists called Homer's equations shockingly accurate. It wasn't just some psych gag, it was math way ahead of its time. So, either they were impressively guessing exactly what this equation would be and some miracle happened where they got it exactly right, or they got actual scientists to put together a few random equations on that board that ended up being something very important, which makes me wonder, how did they not see this? If they got scientists to do it, how did they not know what it would end up being? So it had to be a guess, which means it had to be a wild prediction by The Simpsons once again. And finally, in 2019, Disney made a $71 billion acquisition of 20th Century Fox, making one of the biggest media conglomerates of all time. But The Simpsons predicted it a decade earlier. 1998, an episode called When You Wish Upon a Star, there's a throwaway background gag, a sign that reads 20th Century Fox, a division of the Walt Disney Company. At the time, it was absurd. Disney and Fox were complete opposites, and there's no way these two giant media companies would ever come together and create some super studio. Until they did. March 20th, 2019, the deal was finalized. Disney has officially acquired 21st Century Fox, changing the media landscape forever, and technically becoming the corporate owner of The Simpsons. So now you can watch every episode of this show exactly how God intended on Disney+. So what does this all mean? Are the writers psychic? Is there a glitch in the Matrix? Could be anything. Probably not. As Simpsons showrunner Al Jean once said, if you make enough episodes, eventually you'll get some things right. But it just keeps happening over and over and over. And when it lands with this often, you have to start paying attention. If these predictions keep up, I'll be back right here talking about how The Simpsons predicted teleportation or President Swift, but that's a video for another day. I'm Matt Ripke, and until then, I'll see you next time.